Welcome to the PR Maven Podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. And I've been working in PR throughout my long career, and I have a special interest in personal branding because that's what makes you stand out from everyone who does the same thing you do. And it attracts people who want what you have to offer. I'm a keynote speaker, an author, and a columnist for Forbes.com and Main Biz. My audiences have said that helping them think about their superpower has changed the way they think about their careers and their lives. I hope you like this episode, and I hope you'll share it with other people who might be interested in it. With me today, I'm very excited about hosting Lisa Steele, who's the founder of Fresh Eggs Daily. Welcome to the podcast, Lisa.
Hi, Nancy. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, that's right. This is your second time. I
Yes,
think
it
I
is.
had you very early on, maybe back in 2018.
Before COVID, so it had to be 4, 5, 6 years ago. Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. So Lisa Steele is a fifth generation chicken keeper, author, and founder of the popular backyard chicken keeping brand Fresh Eggs Daily. With nearly 1 million followers worldwide and a blog that has been viewed more than 63 million times since 2012, she's been dubbed the Queen of the Coop by the media and has been teaching others to raise backyard chickens for well over a decade. Lisa has written several top-selling books on raising backyard poultry and most recently released her debut cookbook, the Fresh Eggs Daily Cookbook, and I have it, and I think it's awesome.
Yay.
She's been featured on NPR, the New York Times, the Washington Post, Forbes, Parade Magazine, and the PR Maven podcast.
Yeah.
Leaving a career on Wall Street behind, Lisa currently lives on a small farm in Maine with her husband and a flock of about 36 chickens, ducks, and geese, where she currently produces and hosts the award-winning television show Welcome to My Farm on Create TV. So Lisa, tell us about your career and how you got into it in the first place.
I think I was destined. I grew up around chickens across the street from my grandparents' chicken farm in Massachusetts. So I'm a New England girl. And, as kids, it was just chores. It was collecting eggs. It was locking the chickens up, when you wanted to just be playing or riding your bike or whatever. So I wasn't a huge fan of chickens, honestly. But then back in 2009, my husband was in the Navy and we were in Virginia and we had bought a small farm. He always wanted horses in the backyard. So we had 2 horses that grazed in our backyard, a little hobby farm. And it, it was kind of like the homesteading revival. People were getting chickens and goats and making soap and cheese and all this kind of stuff. And I thought that would be a lot of fun. He didn't think the goats sounded quite as fun. So we kind of compromised with chickens, which honestly I wasn't super excited about. I had him and I didn't love him, but I figured we'll start with the chickens. It's a good kind of entryway. I can add on more animals later. So we got the chickens, and it was a completely different experience as an adult, being in charge of their care and learning and researching how to keep them healthy and, all the things. It just was so much different. And, they all have names and they're more like pets than livestock. Whereas when we were kids, once they weren't chicks anymore, we kind of lost interest, So it's been a really great journey. And the fact that I've been able to turn it into a career, which was not my intention in the first place, it was more, I'm bored and want something to do and love animals. But yeah, I've been doing it for what, 15 years now, and it's turned into a legit career, which is amazing. I couldn't ask for anything more.
And of course, the fresh eggs daily are another perk of having chickens, right?
Yes, that too. We eat a lot of eggs. Yeah,
Right.
got us through COVID.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So tell us about your pivot from chickens into the culinary world. Speaking of eating a lot of eggs.
Speaking of eating a lot of eggs, so it was just prior to COVID, and I was well, I have to say that Maine has been super a great place to run a business, any kind of business. I've been featured on your podcast. I've been featured in some of the local magazines and on 207. And, there's a lot of media in the state of Maine that they're very friendly to Maine citizens. So I've been doing that. I was doing tours with Blue Seal Feeds and Tractor Supply and doing feed store appearances and all that. I'd written 6 books on raising chickens, and my editor wanted me to write another one. And I just didn't want to. I didn't have anything else to say. So I said, I've always wanted to write a cookbook. I've always secretly been like a food photographer in my own mind, and I love Food Network and all that. And I just really wanted to write a cookbook, and he didn't love the idea. So I ended up hiring an agent, switching publishers. And then I basically spent COVID writing a cookbook, which was so much fun and so different. But I also think on brand for me. And fortunately, the Fresh Eggs Daily, um, that still works. When I was thinking of a name, even though it wasn't going to be a business at first, but when I was thinking of a name to name my brand, I had read a lot of books on marketing, and I have a degree in business management, and I took marketing classes in school, and they made it very clear that the brand you choose should be descriptive enough that people get what you're doing, but not so narrow that you're really pigeonholing yourself into one tiny little niche. And fortunately for me, Fresh Eggs Daily, which I plucked out of thin air, works really well for cooking, cooking eggs. So that was great. I mean, that just kind of worked out, and uh, it's been fun. I mean, it's really been fun to kind of dive into the culinary world and have just more opportunities open up for me, because chicken keeping is kind of narrow.
Yeah, well, you've done a really great job with your personal branding also. I feel like you've really differentiated yourself in the market. And I feel like, you, I always say that you humanize the brand. You literally bring the brand to life, especially with your TV show.
It's amazing to me that more brands, I have worked for some brands, and kind of been like the face of their products or whatever, but it does amaze me that more brands don't have like a spokesperson. I feel like they used to, even if it was a cartoon spokesperson, but now they've gotten away from that. And I feel like it's very impersonal, and I do have a brand of products, a line of products that are on Amazon and Chewy, and they sell really, really well. And I think it's because when people look at my products, they can see my chickens in my yard and me feeding them. Whereas another brand, not to mention like a big, pet food brand, but you just have the brand name, and it's like a stock photo of a dog or a cat or a chicken or whatever, but there's no real personal connection there. So I've been really successful launching this brand because people can just really connect to it on a very personal level.
Absolutely. Well, humans are social creatures, and we're born to connect with other humans from the moment we're born, and our mother holds us in her arms and looks at us adoringly. That first human connection uh, makes us almost crave having connection for the rest
Mhm.
of our lives. Some of us more than others, but I'm a really social person. I think you are too.
Well, I do have to add that nobody looks as much like their avatar as you do.
Thank you. I
You're
actually
twins.
have
I
those.
can't really tell which one is you and which one's your avatar. Sometimes I find myself talking to your avatar instead.
That's funny. But yes, I do feel that brands that have, especially if the CEO is out front and will create a connection and a relationship with their customers and the public, I do feel that that makes a more compelling brand than one that's not personal at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, speaking of the two of us, there's this term on the Maine coast. I don't know if you've heard it before, which is notional. I've had friends from like Harpswell, Maine, where they say, you know, if somebody has a lot of notions in their head, they're notional. And you and
Oh,
I, like, we have a lot of notions in our head. And I think that's what makes us successful business women. So,
I agree. And especially the last couple of years, I think the word pivot, I mean, people just kept doing what they were doing. It wasn't working. You have to be ready to turn on a dime. The way the world is just going so fast these days, everything changes like almost overnight.
absolutely. Yeah. So you and I have big dreams, and I know you've got some really big dreams. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, mostly it's not leaving the chicken keeping behind because I still do think that there's so few people talking about the things that I talk about, using natural preventives and herbs and, just doing things as naturally as possible. And I still think that there is a need for that. So that's not going away. But I really am focusing on a second cookbook, which I'm currently working on the concept of now, which is super exciting. And also another season of the TV show, which I absolutely love. It started on New Center, Maine, actually, and then after 2 seasons, it moved to Create, and it's on public television stations across the country. So like Maine Public and WGBH, and it's kind of neat. And I think that's where the show belongs because it is educational, but it's also entertaining. And I get to cook and I get to do some chicken keeping stuff and visit local farms and just kind of show Maine in all the seasons, all its beauty, all the cool things people do here. So it's really a lot of fun. And not being a Mainer, we've only been here for, I guess, 9 years, almost 9 years. Again, it's so amazing how welcoming the state and everybody in it has been. I mean, truly, it's just a state full of wonderful people.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And there are other TV shows from Maine that have received a lot of national recognition, like the Maine Cabin Masters.
I love them. And the Lost Kitchen, Erin, which we were fortunate enough to eat at her restaurant a couple of years ago. We send in our postcard every year.
I have not been chosen yet. So, Erin French, if you're listening, I keep sending my postcard and hoping to be chosen. And for those listeners of the podcast, The Lost Kitchen is a restaurant in Freedom, Maine, where you have
Mhm.
to send a postcard in the mail in April in order to get a reservation for the whole summer. They choose like randomly choose postcards and fill up their restaurant for the whole summer. It's really a remarkable concept. Like if you had told either of us that, like I think probably 10 years ago, we would be, no, that would never work. I
If
can't
you had told
believe.
Erin that 10 years ago, I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny because she has chickens and ducks also. And so we've chatted, back and forth. And that doesn't appear to get me any closer to getting another reservation. So
Yeah, I know.
I don't think she can be bribed.
I know. I was like, oh, we could do a podcast about my night at the Lost Kitchen. So tell us about the brand that you've built using your blog as the hub and how to navigate all the social media channels, plus alternative ways of growing a brand. You've got an email list. Of course, you do a lot of PR and media appearances, and how that direction might change over time. And the blog might become a source of passive income.
Yeah, for me, and really knowing nothing about, blogging or social media, I learned along with everyone else. But to me, it always seemed kind of like fool's folly. The people who, let's call them influencers, who, are only on Instagram or only on TikTok, and they don't have something solid, they don't have a solid foundation that they actually control and own. So, if TikTok goes away tomorrow, which could happen. It's it's kind of on shaky
Yeah.
ground. They have nothing and they'll have lost everything they've built. So right from the beginning, I kind of understood that your blog, which you own, you control, has to be the center. And then from that, yes, you should be on all the platforms, maybe not concentrate on all of them, pick one that you like and seems to resonate. but not make it the focus. But to be fully branded, you should be on all of them with the same name. Can't tell you how many people have their blog is one name, their Instagram is another handle, there's something else on Facebook. You've got to be consistent with your look and your name and everything. And then an email list, which is just super, super important, especially with this new whatever Google is doing lately. There are blogs that have lost 80% of their traffic in the last 6 months because Google has decided that they're going to rank different sites differently. So even just relying on your blog wasn't enough. And I think that an email list where people voluntarily give you their email addresses, that is so valuable because you end up right in their inbox, and it's almost like a free billboard. I know a
Right.
lot of people recommend that they cut people off their list who haven't opened an email in 3 months or 6 months or a year, whatever. I have never, ever deleted anybody because I feel like if someone gave me their email address and said they want to receive my email, they're going to receive them until they tell me they don't want to, because I know myself. Okay, so I subscribe to, say, Ann Taylor. I get their email every week. I don't open it, don't open it, don't open it. 8 months down the road, I need a dress to go somewhere. That Ann Taylor email ends up in my inbox. Who am I buying a dress from? Or even if I just go to Google, because Ann Taylor has just sent me an email, they're top of my mind.
Right,
So,
exactly.
so to me, it just feels like that's crazy. And now it's really proven to be true that your email list is gold right now because social media is saturated. No one's getting exposure. You have to fight for your followers to see anything. And then the Google thing. So the email list, direct marketing. I mean, it's just insane, how important direct marketing is, and how I'd rather spend time creating an e-blast than like a reel for Instagram, that's gone 24 hours later.
Right.
Um,
Well, yeah, an email list is perhaps the most valuable piece of your whole marketing, because you do own it, and it is a privilege for people to invite you into their inbox. So
It
I
is,
think,
and I just know myself, the way I use my inbox. Like I said, there can be brands that send me email every week. I don't open them for months, but when I do need something that they're selling, that's who I'm buying from. I know people will sign up to my newsletter. They're not planning on getting chickens maybe till next spring. Well, what if I, deleted them in 3 months because they haven't opened anything? It just
right,
makes no sense to me. So I
right.
might do things a little bit not the I don't know if you call it traditional, but I kind of go against what a lot of the conventional wisdom says on how to run a brand. But to me, it just makes sense. So that's what I do.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. So we're going to take a short break now and hear more from Lisa in a moment. But I just want to remind everybody that as a listener of the PR Maven podcast, you can get the first chapter of my book, which is called Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand, where I do talk about blogs and email marketing and PR. You just go to prmaven.com/giveaway and sign up for our email list to receive the first chapter. So we'll be back with more after this short testimonial video.
Sprague and Curtis is a locally owned real estate company. We're primarily focused in central Maine. I got excited about Nancy's book because she's so well known in the area for her marketing and branding techniques, and we're always looking to expand and learn and grow. And so a lot of us here at the office decided that we wanted to read her book and learn some new techniques.
It benefits Sprague & Curtis to have a large brand and audience because there can often be multiple years between transactions with clients, so it's important to network with them and stay in touch with them in those in-between periods. And this book really helped us learn some techniques and methods to continue to do that. We organized a small book group with Nancy's book with brokers in our office this winter to share information and remind ourselves how important it is to always be working on our network and continually reaching out to our customers.
Platforms like social media are important in expanding your business, but equally as important are handwritten notes, cards, letters. She inspired me to send her a note of appreciation, just thanking her for the book and her insight. In reading Nancy's book, I was excited to look to continue to grow our brand and our audience. I think she does a great job of motivating us.
Nancy's book really helped me learn a few things in marketing and branding and how important it is to stay on top of reaching out to clients periodically, staying top of mind, providing useful information, and really telling our story as a company.
Again, you can get a free chapter from my book by visiting prmaven.com/giveaway. I'd like to welcome you back. And today we're talking with Lisa Steele of Fresh Eggs Daily on the PR Maven podcast. The podcast is also available on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So, Lisa, how have you avoided burnout?
That's a really good question. And I think because, well, especially for me, because I get bored really easily. So I realized that I can't wake up every day and do the same thing. So at the end of each year, I sort of assess what I'm spending my time on. And anything that doesn't earn me money or I don't love, I kind of drop. And then that keeps me focused, but it also takes away all the things I don't like doing. Um, and I think that's really important. And I also think just by the nature of what I do, there's so many little pieces and moving parts that one day I might be thinking about a new product to develop or designing a label. And then the next day I'm writing a blog post. And, the next day I'm doing whatever for Instagram. I think that, like being an influencer, I tried to go after brand deals for a while. And that is exhausting. Just always like the cold calling and pitching and trying to get that deal. And then all the hoops they want you to jump through for honestly very little money. Um, and then you lose followers because there are people that don't want to see that sponsored content. And it's just very disingenuous. And that was super stressful. And that was one of the things that I ditched and decided it wasn't worth my time or money because it's just not enjoyable. And I think there's a lot of burnout there because it's just the constant going after a deal, going after a deal. And I prefer to work with brands more, I guess you would say on more of a passive level where I just sell ads on my, banner ads on my blog and they pay for like 3 or 6 or 12 months. And then I'll do random tags or if they say, hey, we're running a sale or could you share this or whatever. But it's all very relaxed and sort of organic. And I find that a lot less stressful than the constant brand deals.
Exactly. And I love that you look at your calendar and if something's not making you money or making you really happy, then you do drop it because it's really, I mean, time is limited and our lives are short. So you might as well either be making money or really
Right.
happy.
Or love it. And the things that you don't like drain you so much. For example, for the last 15 years, I've been posting on Facebook every day, multiple times a day. And I was trying all different things, every hour, once a day, twice a day, whatever. And what I had settled on kind of like was 4 times a day. So last year, I would schedule out like a month at a time, 4 times a day, 4 posts a day. And it was I just hated it. I didn't look forward to it. So I looked at my analytics. I was earning like $800 a month from all of that posting to 680,000 followers. And I said the ROI on this is horrible. Like it's just not worth it. And so January 1st, I posted on Facebook and said, thanks everyone for following. This is just not working for me anymore. Nobody's clicking on anything. Nobody's seeing my stuff. I mean, maybe 20,000 people would see a given post. So I said, if you really want to keep getting my information, sign up for my email list. I got like 3,000 subscribers that day.
Wow.
So then I started looking at my analytics and my Facebook blog traffic obviously went way down to almost nothing, but my direct traffic went up. And I think that was because instead of spoon feeding people, here are your 4 posts a day, they actually had to go look for the information. And so they had to like Google it or whatever. So that actually worked better than I thought because I thought I was just going to lose the Facebook traffic, but I more than made it up in the direct traffic. And then those 3,000 subscribers, I mean, that's way more valuable than just having somebody see a post on Facebook. So that
Yeah,
was an interesting little experiment.
that's really great advice to drive people to your newsletter if you can.
And that was an accident. I didn't intend for it to work that way, but thinking about it, it really made a lot of sense because the truly committed people that are on my page because they do want to learn, they do want to hear what I have to say. Of course, they're going to sign up for the newsletter if they are, they think I'm not going to be, just putting it out there for them every day.
Right.
So in effect, you kind of get like the cream of the crop. It's the people that you want
Right.
were the ones
Yeah.
that subscribe.
And it's important to remind people that if you have followers on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or wherever, you don't own those. Like Meta owns those names literally. They might, they might follow you, but you don't have control over that, how, what those companies do. So,
Or if they're seeing it or not, or and I don't
right.
even believe Facebook. I don't even know if they show it. I mean, okay, 682,000 followers on Facebook, and a given post might get 20 likes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, that's just, and then, the experts will say, well, you have to connect with people and you have to do this and I've tried everything under the sun, and it used to be so much better in the beginning, but now it's just crowded. Even the groups, they said, start a Facebook group. So I did that. And in the beginning, when people would ask to join my group, they might belong to one or two other groups. Now I'm noticing when people ask to join my group, they might belong to 300 other groups. So again, now they're not seeing the content from all those 300 groups. So everything gets diluted over time, except an email in someone's inbox.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Well, this is kind of newsworthy that you shared with me. You're considering a sale, and what might it look like to continue to be the face of the brand, but remove yourself from the back end of things?
Yeah, so that's part of the at the end of the year, figure out, what is doing. And so right now it's just me. I don't have a virtual assistant. I don't have a team. I do have an accountant, an attorney, an agent, whatever, like professionals, a publicist. But it's just me. And one of the things that takes up a crazy amount of time is the product line, just dealing with Amazon and Chewy and all those problems. And they are not easy to figure out their different, pages and forms and whatever. So something that would make a lot more sense would be for me, kind of like we were talking about, to be the face of the brand and work on product development and marketing, those things that I really like and that I'm good at, and not have to get so bogged down in all the back end stuff, which honestly is not my forte. We've just moved into retail this past month, which is super exciting because I've actually seen a couple pictures of products on feed store shelves, which is neat. You see them on Amazon listed, but then to see it in the store is completely different. It's like seeing your book, on a store shelf, a real store. Um, but that's like a whole nother can of worms. And I know nothing about wholesale and retail and distribution and that. So I think part of being successful at what you do is realizing where your strengths lie and then realizing where it really is going to make sense to hire somebody else or farm it out. I mean, I'm an accountant. I have a degree in accounting and I don't do our taxes. I did for a lot of years, but it got to the point where I can't keep up with the tax laws and the changes and all the, personal and corporate tax law, and it made sense to hire an accountant. So I think that's very important. And I tried to put off having to hire staff because I don't want to get into like payroll taxes and employees and like that whole thing. No offense, Emma, but
Emma's my employee,
but
my producer.
but yeah, and I have a film crew to do the TV show. So like when I've needed to, I've hired professionals, but they're all like freelance, obviously contractors, as needed, or whatever you would call your accountant and your attorney, whatever. But yeah, I think a lot of bloggers, influencers, wherever, they jump in quickly and they hire a team immediately. And until you're actually making money and profitable, I think that's probably not the best idea. For a long time, you do need to do everything yourself, and you also have to understand your business before you start farming out pieces of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if you want to make a profit.
Yeah.
Lisa, is there a book, an app, or a website that has helped you in your life and career, and why?
So I think that my college background with the marketing and the management, business management, accounting, all that was such a great background, um, just for running your own business. And I don't care if you sell handmade something on Etsy or, have a podcast or, just an influencer, you're still running a business and you have to know profit and loss and what things are costing you and all that kind of stuff. So I think that was a great background. I also read a book like a million years ago, which I've looked for since, and I don't think it's in print anymore, but it was called Why We Buy. And it was really interesting. It was about the psychology of what makes people buy one thing over another, what makes people buy in the first place, the power of colors and music and how to set up stores. And like it was all about the psychology of selling. And I found that really fascinating. But I think more like current day, I don't follow a lot of chicken blogs, honestly, um, but I do read a lot of blogs and I do get a lot of newsletters. Just seeing what other people are doing and drawing from the format they're using or the kinds of topics they're going after. Or I think you can always learn if you kind of choose like where you want to be and pick people who are there and see what they're doing. And I think you can learn a lot from that.
I agree, absolutely. I remember when I started my PR firm, there was a woman in Boston named Carol Cohn. She had a business called Carol Cohn Communications. And I remember like looking up to her and thinking, oh, yeah, I could do that. And yeah, 30 plus years later, here I am. So.
It's nice to have a mentor who doesn't know that they're your mentor.
Yeah, right,
right?
exactly. Well, Lisa, how can people get in touch with you and follow you and sign up for your newsletter?
Yeah, sign up for my newsletter. Yeah, it's really easy. Fresh Eggs Daily on pretty much any social platform except TikTok. Um, my blog is fresheggsdaily.com. My email is fresheggsdaily@gmail.com. So it's really easy. I think, I mostly talk about chickens and, some recipes and that, but I do think that just watching what someone's doing and how they're getting there can be super interesting, even if they're not in the field that you're in, because it all pretty much is the same path, to here.
Right. Well, you've done such a great job of building a brand. I admire you.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been really great. And if you have any questions for our guest or you want to hear more from the PR Maven about a certain topic, you can email me at nancy@prmaven.com. And I hope you have a great day. The day we're recording, it happens to be the day of the eclipse.
Day.
So we're all very excited about that because here in Maine, of course, we're in the path of totality.
We are. Should be exciting.
Yeah. Well, have a great day, Lisa, and have a great day, PR Maven Nation.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the PR Maven podcast. I invite you to share a review of the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation on Facebook. It's free to join, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you use an Alexa device, use your Alexa app to search the skills and games section to find and enable the PR Maven podcast flash briefing. This will give you access to exclusive content and more PR and marketing advice. Thanks again for listening and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.